Yeah, I'd like to direct my question to Mr. Friedman. There's been much discussion about the CFPP's governance model, whether or not we get a single director or a multi-commission for its governance. Can you explain to the committee what would be the shortcomings of the CFPB's current governance that could be cured by replacing the single director with a multi-member commission?
Thanks for that question, Congressman. Most federal regulators, independent regulators, are headed by a bipartisan multi-member commission. And what we find is, in those cases, they are more deliberative about the policy they put forward. It's not just about approving rulemaking, but also which enforcement actions they take up. By having a multi-member commission, you set up a process by which staff at the agency has to put forward a proposal, and the members consider it and often take a vote on whether to proceed. In the case of a single political appointee, it's really just a matter of a memo to the boss, and he'll sign off on whether to move forward or not. And there is no public record or transparency in how that decision is made.
So in your opinion, what would be the best method? Which way should we go? Single director or multi-member commission?
AFSA would recommend a multi-member bipartisan commission with staggered terms, allowing a new president as he came in to appoint the chairman, and having that institutional memory hold over. It also provides an avenue for stakeholders like our industry and like consumer advocates and like Congress to approach the various commissioners and bring their issues to the fore.
And what benefits would this bring to our financial services industry?
Ultimately, I think that it would promote better policymaking that carefully weighs consumer protections against the need to ensure access to credit, particularly for financially underserved Americans, who are the ones that are more commonly served by non-banks.
Let me ask you another question, if I may. Consumer finance companies differ from banks and from credit unions, which is why they have been regulated differently. Finance companies, for example, do not accept deposits, so they are not supervised for safety and soundness. So why is it important for a consumer regulator to concern himself or herself with this distinction?
Well, sir, safety and soundness concerns for banks and credit unions are very real. Consumers put deposits at those institutions, and the government has a stake in ensuring that they're not lost if the institution fails. In the case of a consumer finance company, they're lending out of their own capital, and if the institution were to fail, then the portfolio of loans would be bought up by some other institution who would continue to collect the payments, but no consumers would lose their nest egg. As a result, consumer finance companies are able to take risks that depository institutions are not, and that means that consumers who are lower down on the credit spectrum, perhaps have dings on their credit histories, are able to find loans from consumer finance companies that they might not get from a depository institution.
Thank you. Ms. Wilson, you're with the neighborhood, the lending group, is that correct? Is that the group out of North Carolina? I'm sorry.
The Center for Responsible Lending?
The Center for Responsible Lending. Is that the one out of North Carolina? Are you based out of North Carolina? Or
So CRL is actually the national headquarters in Washington, D.C., but we are affiliated with Self-Help, which is in fact based in North Carolina.
Okay. Tell me what your assessment is. You followed our work here. We had a program on mortgage lending. It was called the Hardest Hit Program. Are you familiar with that, where we put that into the Wall Street bailout, I hate to use the word bailout, program, but it was able to go down and help struggling homeowners with in the hardest hit states with unemployment and mortgage foreclosures. And I wanted to just get your assessment of how you feel that program has helped in the lending area, particularly for those behind in their mortgages.
Well, certainly. I mean, the hardest hit fund was actually intended for very good reasons, right? To direct
Right.
capital, to stem the challenges that we're facing, communities that were really burdened by the impact of the housing crisis and the market's implosion. There have been challenges with the program, and there's no denying that. Mostly those challenges have actually related to the restrictions that exist on the ability to
Right.
release those funds. So there are remaining funds that we hope that we can actually get released.
Time of the gentleman has expired.